The day has finally come. WWE 2K22 is here, and today we have our full impressions and breakdown for you, our thoughts on the game. Let's give that to you guys right now. Hey everybody, welcome back to Assemble. I'm Matt. Great to have you here. It is a huge day. 2K22 is finally out, and today it is our full impressions and rundown of the game so far. I will not be giving it a graded score. This is just early impressions, my experience with the game so far, and I want to be able to share it with all of you. We're going to go through 5 different topics around the game. We're going to talk gameplay, we're going to talk sound, we'll discuss the different modes, graphics, and overall impressions. First up, gameplay, the controls. 2K22 completely revamped the controls for this year's game. As you start up the game, you're greeted with a tutorial from Drew Gulak, and let me tell you, it is absolutely worth your time going through. My advice is do not skip the tutorial. You're going to want to take the time, the 20 minutes or so, to get a feel for the new controls coming from previous year's games. It's completely different. We have our light attacks, we have heavy attacks, grappling, learning how to do springboard dives. Everything has been tweaked and changed. We're also learning about new combos to be able to pull off. You could also do different moves by actually grappling your opponent and doing moves that way too. It's actually a good balance. My overall impressions of the controls, I have played 15-20 hours of the game so far. I like the controls. Does it take time to get used to? Absolutely. I'm still trying to figure out the best ways to actually use the dodge mechanics and timing all of the different reversals by hitting X or A at the right moment when your opponent to anticipate what they're gonna do. That's tricky to pull off, but that's also a good challenge to have. Button mashing for the pin, I wasn't sure if I was gonna like that versus the meter. I actually do like it a lot more because of just how frantic and arcadey it feels to have to try to get out of a pin. And likewise, when we're in submissions or putting submission holds on the opponent, we're doing the button mashing sequences too. But the gameplay, the moment to moment gameplay feels tight. I haven't had an instance in the game where I felt like I really had to struggle to figure out what moves am I going to pull off, how do I do this or that. And as you start going through the matches, you really start to learn the brand new flow to it all. Next up, sound. And this is coming from the entrances to the voiceover work of Rey Mysterio in showcase mode, the crowd, the commentary. The entrance music itself, when the superstars are coming out, is fantastic. I really do enjoy it. It feels like it's taken up a notch. It feels a lot more present. It really feels like Roman Reigns is making his giant entrance. The crowd noise and the crowd engagement isn't quite what I would want it to be. I wish that it was a little bit more poppier. I wish it would actually play a little bit of a bigger role in the matches when you're getting big crowd reactions. I might notice this more the longer I play the game, but when you're pulling off big moves, the crowd does get into it, but they're not as loud and as prominent as I would like them to be. It sounds like previous 2K games with the sound dynamics. It's probably tweaked a little bit, but it's nothing that is going to be spectacular. The commentary of Corey Graves, Michael Cole, and Byron Saxton is good. It's nothing spectacular. It's not going to be extraordinary where you're overly impressed with it, but is there so far repetition in terms of the commentary? Not a lot based off of my experience. I like the commentary that they give when superstars are making their entrance. It feels dynamic, it feels urgent and in the moment, and they do a better job, it feels like, hitting those beats in the commentary when they're kind of going moment to moment during a match. Rey Mysterio's showcase though, the sound design in that I did not like. You're getting a lot of voiceover commentary from Rey himself with either the sit down interviews or Rey doing voiceover of the actual match and big moments between him and like Eddie Guerrero. And while it's fun to listen to Rey Mysterio give his take on the match and those moments and what it meant to him, the audio balance in it is off. Rey comes off way too quiet in showcase mode. You can hear the actual music, the generic music that they play over the matches, and I find that's way too high and Rey's volume is way too low when he's actually talking. And the other thing is that the showcase matches do go on for quite a while in some cases, and you're getting the same music loop for that match, and it gets a little bit stale and repetitive listening to the same thing. Yes, turn it off, man. Just turn off the sound and then you're good to go. They do give you different music tracks, background music in the showcase match to match. Some of it creates a little bit more urgency, and it's kind of, you can tell it's a little bit more tailored to that actual match itself. But it does become a little bit repetitive, and again, Rey Mysterio's commentary I felt was a little bit bland and a little bit flat. Now the big piece, the modes. We got a lot of modes, returning modes and new stuff as well. So 2K is kind of throwing everything out there for players, trying to hit on everything that players might want to play. And we're going to go further in depth on the show, each mode, and giving you kind of our impressions and review of each one, because they do deserve their own time to be able to really deep dive and really flush them out to see what we think of them. But I feel like it's a good thing that 2K is giving us a lot of variety to choose from. I've been able to try out every single mode in the game, and so far I spend most of my time playing through MyGM and Universe mode, and a little bit of My Factions because it is really brand new. My Factions has all of the card collecting, unlocking cards, being able to build up your faction in there with those different cards and different stats. You want to be able to play through the matches that they have set out in there to be able to progress. They have the towers in there that we are kind of used to from previous years. So you are kind of going through like 5 different matches and you're being able to unlock different cards as you go to build up a better faction and a lot more cards. You can also unlock cards and earn My Faction points in the mode, as well as through regular gameplay. I don't hate the mode. I thought that My Factions was going to be something that I would detest, that I thought it was very gimmicky. I do enjoy it as kind of like a switch off from doing the regular matches and modes. It's nice to be able to go in there and try to hit these challenges, these daily and weekly challenges. It brings something different to the game itself. The one thing I don't like is that it's all offline. And maybe this is something that could be implemented later in a patch, but I feel like because the game is offline, you can't really compare anything to stats to any other players. It takes away that element of like a My Teams mode where you want to be able to see how your buddies are ranking, where they unlock, what are their stats, what are their My Factions, and you don't really get that element here. Because it's offline, you are just ranking yourself up. So I like the idea of having the different challenges, but I do feel that not having the online piece is a bit of a miss. And that's kind of the theme too when it comes to the other modes in the game. It's a bit of a miss. It's a mixed bag. We have the big return of MyGM mode. Based off of all the previews that we did see, MyGM for me right now is kind of average. It's missing some core pieces to take it up a notch, to take it to that next level of really feeling like it's a cohesive mode that is going to be a true standout. I enjoy MyGM so far. I like being able to use my budget to be able to build out a bigger and better show. I do really like the draft. I like that they announce your draft picks in the mode as you're getting started. And because the mode is brand new, I'm not hating on it for not having the extra titles. It is definitely something that they need to include next time or even in a patch. It limits the mode a lot. It is a very, very big downside to MyGM. But right now, because it's early on, I am enjoying being able to have these one-on-one matches, to be able to find different matchups that are going to work, working with different superstars as the general manager, and being able to put out the best show possible. It's fun. It's refreshing to go back to general manager mode and being able to do this. I don't like that when you are trying to put a draft together, you're not going to be able to get every superstar made available day one of your draft. Some become available through future releases, the legends, and so on. So I haven't been able to even pick Roman Reigns in my draft because he wasn't available day one. You can go in and you can customize your actual draft rounds and putting in different superstars as legends or putting them in as available, inactive, and so on, which is really cool because if you want to be able to have a Attitude Era on Raw, you can do that by putting all of the current superstars as inactive and making your legends available today. So players are going to be able to do a little bit when it comes to MyGM, but once again, it's not all there. The biggest piece is needing to have more titles available to really flush it out and make it more custom and making it feel like players are actually working towards something. I don't know what the longevity of the mode is going to be. I am enjoying it, but I feel like it still is missing a little bit. My Rise, I've only put a little bit of time in there, really just test things out. So far, I am enjoying actually going through the mode. It's probably going to be a standout for it. Being able to have different dialogue choices, customizing my character, there's a ton of different options in there. And it's gonna be a big mode for players that are wanting to go through and rise through the ranks of getting their created superstar in there. I really do enjoy it. Again, it's a longer mode, so my initial impressions are I do like it, and I do like the creation suite that we have this year. Universe mode, it's exactly the same. It's a fresh coat of paint on all of the modes, the UI and everything. I'm playing on my Xbox Series X. I am glad that the load times are quicker. In Universe mode, they've eliminated the promos in each of your shows. So we don't have those slots anymore for promos, but instead, I'm noticing that I am getting a few more cutscenes to drive storylines and my rivalries. Universe mode is typically where I spend most of my time. Right now I'm enjoying it. It's a warm blanket because it's all feeling exactly the same, but I do like that it's working at a little bit of a quicker pace for going through different menus within the mode. And then we also have the superstar mode where I can actually focus in and select one superstar to focus on during my universe. You can toggle this on and off as you go through. I was able to start off a whole universe and then toggle to turn on my focus onto Roman Reigns. And that's a really cool addition because you want to be able to hone in on a specific superstar for even just a week of storylines or a month or 3 months. You can do that and you're only going to be involved in their matches. It will simulate the other matches on the card and you will only focus on that one superstar. But the bad news is that you can't actually simulate that specific star's matches. It forces you to play the match. And I found out too that if you quit out of actually going through the match, and if you're in the middle of your show and you think I'm gonna just toggle it back to just regular sandbox controls, normal controls for universe, it actually won't let you. If you've already begun that week's programming, that show for SmackDown, for example, and you're focused in on just using Roman Reigns, you have to go and play that match and finish it. Otherwise, you got to exit out of the whole thing. Maybe it's something that they will be able to adapt in there where we can just click the option to simulate the match. I don't see why not. But again, it's things like that, those details where I'm like, that's a bit of a miss. I don't always want to focus in on Ricochet for my storyline the whole time, every single week, and play the match. Sometimes I just want to simulate Ricochet's matches on that focus. So again, nothing new when it comes to universe mode. It's very much the same, but it's a little bit snappier. It's a little bit quicker on next gen consoles, and that I really enjoy. And the overall matches that we have no new matches in the game, not even a special guest referee. They haven't changed any of that. All the custom match options are there, but the suite of matches available, it's the same as what we've had in previous years. Doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It's a great amount of matches and match types, but we're not gonna get things like War Games. We don't have even special guest referee. Those things are a bit of a letdown. Okay, graphics, the entrances, and graphics overall. The entrances I highlight here because I think they are one of the biggest highlights of this entire game. I love the entrances. They have done an amazing job. When you look at previous years, a lot of care and attention has gone into this, and a lot of it has to do with the different camera angles that they are using, the lighting effects, and the sound design, all within the entrances. It makes the entrances feel very unique and like you are watching Raw or SmackDown. Being able to see The Raw come out, or John Cena, or Roman Reigns, their entrance feels dynamic. No two entrances in that regard for superstars in the game really do feel the same. They feel unique and you want to be able to watch the entrances. And in previous years of 2K games, I just want to skip them all the time because once I saw it once, I was done. But they feel dynamic and they feel very much a part of the show and a part of the match you're gonna have. And for that, I really got to give them credit because I think they really did an excellent job when it comes to entrances. The graphics overall of the game, I think, are actually really good. Dynamic lighting within the game and within your matches really does help. The character models are done very well. Even your created superstars look really good. And that new camera angle that they have where it's much more closer and tighter to the action, I feel like it creates better urgency. It gets you more involved in the match and it makes it feel like you're much more part of it. And so you're really focused on the moves that you are making moment to moment. But the arenas, the lighting, the actual matches you're having in the superstars, graphically, I think they did a very good job. It's very solid. So the final piece on overall impressions, everybody, I'm very happy with 2K22 so far. If you're thinking about what about glitches and bugs and the nightmares that we had about 2K20, for me so far, I haven't experienced a lot. I have had no game-breaking crashes or anything like that. I've had no serious glitching or warping, anything like that in the game so far. I've experienced 1 or 2 glitches when it comes to cutscenes within universe mode that I've had to restart. But the one area where I thought I was going to experience like huge frame rate drops, and one of the good things is getting 60 frames per second on this game. It makes it much more smooth and it feels really crisp. But where I wanted to challenge the game was a big 4-on-4 elimination match. And doing that match, in my experience, nothing slowed down. The pacing was good, the camera angles looked good, but I didn't experience any big bugs that were going to be noticeable or any frame rate drops, and that's a really good thing here in the game. So is it a perfect wrestling game? Absolutely not. MyGM mode needs a lot more work and it needs more built in there down the road, and I can see 2K, if they're the ones to get the license to continue the franchise, they can build off of this. We were hoping for a little bit more when it comes to that mode, but getting into a match, going through the entrances, playing the match, I'm happy, it's tight, and it feels good and it plays well. Players, I think, are going to be overall really happy with how the game turned out. It's been a few years now since our last wrestling game with 2K20, and for a lot of us, it's just been 2K19 and waiting until we got to this point. I feel like 2K's focus this year was making a solid wrestling game, a good experience for players where the gameplay was really at its core and their focus to make sure that it was tight, it was solid. The modes need a little bit more work and need to be flushed out a bit more. But overall, I'm having a good time and it's really fun and it's really exciting to have a brand new wrestling game. Let me know your thoughts on 2K22. If you guys enjoy this episode, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button as well. We're gonna have more in-depth coverage and impressions of every single mode that we have in this year's game. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode.